Hello, Fightful Faithful. This is not your normal tandem on a Wednesday night. Sean was actually at the show, so he'll be getting all kinds of scoops, I'm sure, behind the scenes. So I'm on the other side of the little thing. I'm on the other box. That's I'm your host tonight, Alex Pawlowski, and with me is Julie Cutler, who you know from the Fightful post AEW pay-per-view shows.
I'm back.
And she's back, everybody.
I'm back and I'm back big. Let's do
this. This is your post show on Fightful for AEW Dynamite on January 25th. Send in your super chats. There's a little thing at the bottom of the YouTube thing, or go to humperchats.com and send in something there. And it looks like we'll be reading those all night long, and we will be talking about the show and where we think it's going. We've gotten to a place where it looks like we are starting to really build toward Revolution, the next pay-per-view. It's we're getting to about 6 weeks out, so they're starting to like really put some things together, some stuff that isn't not yet actually set in stone, but we think we know where we're going. So here we go. Meet Norma says, "Hi, Julie. Glad you're here."
Meet Normus. Oh, I'm so glad to see you too.
Meet Normus, of course, is now cheating on Linda with Julie Cutler, and really,
oh
honestly,
my! Oh, I just got wrapped up in the middle of some drama. That was quick.
Yeah, listen. I can't say I blame him, but Linda's probably crushed. So,
well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to get tangled up with Linda. Linda seems like she's got an angry side to her. I don't know if she's someone that I want to get tangled up with.
Oh, so. She'll absolutely cut a bitch. So
yeah, exactly.
That's out. The main thing for the show, of course, being that they announced that Mark Briscoe, the brother of the late Jay Briscoe, one half of the current ROH Tag Team Champions, would be having a tribute match to honor his brother versus Jay Lethal, Jay Briscoe's longtime friend and rival. And they put that on as the main event of the show, as well they should. But the entire show, especially a Jay Briscoe video package that we saw, all of that, there was a tenor to the show that felt like there was this business as usual for a lot of these matches, but there was this thing hanging over this I won't say a pallor or anything like that. It really felt like this was all for Jay. This is what Jay would have wanted, and I thought the show used that energy really well.
I agree with that. And I was so glad when I saw it pop up in my news feed. I want to say they announced it. I can't remember if it was yesterday or Monday that they had officially announced it. I remember going on my phone in the morning and kind of scrolling around and seeing the graphic that they had made the announcement that was going to be a part of the show. And I was so glad when I saw that they made that decision. I know it sounded like within the past week, Toni last week had kind of done, I think, whatever he could within his power, doing sort of like this separate tribute show after the episode of Dynamite. But it sounds like within the past week, he had some conversations with Warner Brothers, and they had changed their stance on what kind of a tribute they would allow him to do on TV. And I'm so glad that they were able to do that this week. And I'm sure we'll get to it more once we actually discuss the main event of the show. But I mean, you could just see the emotion so clearly written on everyone's face. Once we got to that point in the show, I thought that the video package that they put together was so beautifully executed. And I'm really, really glad because just, aside from this recent tragedy, we had spoken a lot on Fightful recently about how I feel like this past year was a really big year for the Briscoes, especially with the series that they did with FTR. And so I think it was beautiful that they were able to be showcased tonight on such a large platform.
Yeah, agreed. JB Love says, "What a show! Thanks for running this group therapy, Alex and Julie. We'll take that as an honor to be able to do that for you guys.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much. Oh, look at that! Somebody decided to edit our little deal, and now we have names under us. Look at that! That was like magic. I wonder who did that. That must have been the overlay fairy who decided to bless us with our own names underneath our pictures. That's very good. So we started the night with Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara and Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. Now I'm not going to be able to get through this without pointing out the thing that was going around wrestling Twitter late this afternoon. A video of Action Andretti doing a completely amazing athletic feat for no reason in the middle of a match, and the tweet was sent out with this video of like, he's spectacular. That's inarguable. However, there is such a thing. Like, and I'm not the ring psychology, come on, why are you doing flips all the time guy? But in this particular case, he did a lot of stuff to do nothing. And the thing is, I like Action Andretti, and there's a lot of people who were dismissing him entirely because of this little video. Like, oh, this guy must suck because he's just a gymnast. And then, like, no, watch the match, the full match he had from Dark or Elevation or whatever it was, or watch this tag match because this guy's really good and getting better and better. So I thought this tag match was what it needed to be. And Ricky Starks is a huge star. Action Andretti is again a rising star, going to be getting better and better all the time. Jericho and Sammy Guevara doing all their shtick. And of course, you do the cheat to win thing because that's what Yas does. And so this did everything it set out to accomplish. I wouldn't have changed much of anything considering what is the story they're trying to tell here. This is what we're doing.
I agree. I thought that this was a very well booked match. I thought it was a perfect start to the show. I felt like the crowd, at least from like the crowd reaction that I could hear on TV, it sounded like the crowd was hot for this match. And I just thought everybody had a really good showing. I think Action Andretti is like on track to be a huge star. I think that there's something really special. He kind of reminds me when you mentioned that viral video on Twitter earlier today. I feel like we've seen a few things sort of, it reminds me of like Ricochet, like early Ricochet a little bit, where I feel like he just threw in like a lot of flippy stuff in his matches that like wasn't really necessary, but it was just like kind of fun. It was just kind of fun to like see that he was capable of doing that. It also sort of reminded me of something you had mentioned on last night's show, where you and Kate were going over NXT, the spot that Tiffany Stratton did, where it's like you flip into an elbow, and you were just like, that is absolutely not necessary. In fact, that probably takes away your momentum for the elbow to actually have an impact. But nonetheless, it's just like a moment for them to show off what they can do athletically. So I do think that he's very gifted in that way. And I think there's something really to be said for the fact that Chris Jericho handpicked him to be a star. I was reading online around the time of his signing that Jericho had been watching one of the AEW Dark tapings, and he had seen the match that Action Andretti did with QT. And in that moment, he was just like, this kid's going to be a star. And so I'm going to make him a star. And I think he's succeeded at that so far. I mean, we had the big Dynamite debut where he got the upset win over Jericho. And I think ever since then, I think it's really smart that they put him with Ricky Starks, just considering the amount of star power that Ricky Starks has. I think it's perfect. They both look like they're young rising stars, and they both have a lot of charisma. I was very impressed seeing Action Andretti actually on the mic the other week too, and like the backstage interviews that he's done so far with Renee. I thought that he carried himself very well. And so having that well-roundedness, I think, is really going to help him a lot. One thing that I wanted to point out about this match that I thought was funny was there was that little spot where Ricky Starks was walking on the top rope with Jericho. And I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but like, I just thought it was funny, sort of like how far he walked, like how long they kept that.
He would have gone all the way. I want this. I know it's ridiculous, but I want this. Can he do the same walk from one turnbuckle to the next, and then turn left and walk from that turnbuckle to the next? Do the full way around the thing. I don't necessarily need to see it in, like on TV, but in a house show, that spot would be
hilarious.
Huge. I like how far he went, but he went just far enough that Sammy Guevara could hit a flying cutter off the top rope, which was a great spot. I
thought so too. I just thought it was funny how long that spot lasted for, and like the facials. Chris Jericho's always like the master of facials, and just his facial in the spot. And I was like, realistically, like you probably had plenty of time where you could have gotten out of this yourself.
Oh yeah. Well,
and you're just like
Jericho's selling the arm being twisted backwards. And so he's got to sell that for a while.
Yeah, and there was another spot too earlier in the match. I'm trying to remember specifically what it was, but they did like a zoom in on a couple of different facials, and it was when Jericho was waiting for the tag, and he's like holding onto the rope, and like just the expression on his face, like he looked so forlorn. But it was like almost comically so, where I just really appreciated it.
Okay, so Mike Jackson in Impact is the total ring rope walk around. Well, see that I did not know that, but good for Mike Jackson doing the spot that I'm wanting Ricky Starks to do.
Someday please send me a video of that, because I would love to see.
Jambeard says Action reminds me of early Matt Sydal / Evan Bourne. That's a great shout out.
I could see that.
When Evan Bourne was doing stuff, you were like, that's crazy. Like, and then he says somewhat like Ricochet as well. I mean, I always think of early Ricochet as being Prince Puma from Lucha Underground, and that guy wasn't doing unnecessary flippy stuff. He was doing necessary flippy stuff, because there were like zombie luchadors out to murder him, so he had to do anything he had to.
He had to.
Yeah. Mike Jackson, of course, does that at 73 years old. So let's see Ricky do that in 50 years, 40 years, whatever. Let's see Ricky trot that out in 40 years and see what happens.
It's a challenge. We're issuing it as a challenge.
Yeah. Jambeard says, I like this new co-host for Alex. Big upgrade over SRS. Can we keep it this way? I mean, listen, you have to talk to Sean. I'm sure Sean would love another night off. Are you kidding me? He's just going out doing
something fun at the show.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good. Kai says Andretti out here like a god dang spider monkey. He's true. He is a spider monkey. That's good. So yeah, I believe it is Garcia on the outside who hits Andretti with the bat, and that causes the end. And it is they did a while ago. They did a spot where all the refs came out to like try and get Satnam Singh to the back in that tag title match, and so all the refs were out there to witness what one ref in the ring did not witness, which was blatant cheating by Jeff Jarrett. And I feel like they should just have, as a matter of course, have like 3 referees around the ring at all times, because there's so much cheating that goes on in AEW matches. So that if you've established that as long as there's a referee at ringside who sees the cheating cannot stand. Well, then you should probably just have a couple of referees out there all the time, because especially Jericho and his buddies, they cheat behind Aubrey's back all the time.
Literally all the time.
And she's forced to go, well, that guy wasn't unconscious 5 seconds ago. All right, 1, 2, 3. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe maybe check his face for bruising, like bat-shaped bruising. I don't know.
Right. That's one thing that I do have to nitpick about AEW a little bit is not even just the cheating necessarily, but I actually meant to talk about this a little bit in the Revolution post show that we did, and I just never got the chance because there was so much content to cover. But I think there's also a theme sometimes of like not adhering to solid tag team rules. Like I think sometimes you can see that they kind of flip back and forth between like they're just having a crazy tornado, like what seems like it's a tornado tag. They're all over the place. They're in the crowd, and then they all come back. And this is going on for like 5 minutes, and then they all come back to the ring and stand on the apron and like wait to be tagged in. And I'm like, well, then why did the last 5 minutes of this match just go completely unnoticed? I just think it's I mean, I think a lot of the time as fans we kind of let it fly because it is entertaining and like the ultimate purpose of the match comes across. But I think if you're really somebody who is looking at it from like a technical perspective, it can make the referees look incompetent, and it can just be generally a little bit confusing. So I think that's the one thing I would like to see them tighten up. And I mean, obviously it's not just AEW. Every promotion is going to have those little cheating spots. I think that we've seen it probably more prominently in AEW in like some of the big matches. And I think a lot of the time it's good from a storytelling perspective. Like I think it worked in this match because you don't really want to make either team look weak. You don't want to make Chris Jericho. I mean, he already had an upset loss to Action Andretti, and you don't really want to make him look any weaker, especially as they're building up the feud. You don't really want to have Ricky Starks and Action Andretti lose cleanly because those are like the young stars that you're trying to build. So I feel like this ending logistically made sense in terms of continuing the story. But like you said, it's kind of does the referee notice that there's a bat-shaped hole in someone's face?
Hold on. We got let's call that a refumberjack match. Lumberjacks around the ring, but they're all refs. And Tom LaValle says 3 refs, they distract each one and still cheat. Yeah, that's true. If Yas has enough people, they'll just run out Ange Parker and Daddy Magic and Jake Hager, and they'll distract all of them. So
they have enough guys to do that.
We got a very beautiful, honestly, a beautiful Jay Briscoe tribute video that was just incredibly well done. And you know, it's a horrible tragedy, but it is kind of amazing to see the outpouring of support for him and his family. The wrestling community really takes care of their own in a way that is lovely to see. But this was a fantastic and very moving video package for Jay Briscoe. What did you think of it?
I completely agree with you. And I give major props to AEW because I think that, you know, regardless of what you think of Tony Khan, regardless of what you think of, you know, one company versus another, like this is something that transcends wrestling. This is something that happened in real life to real families. There are real families that are going to be impacted by this forever. And so I think that AEW traditionally in situations like this has done a very good job of putting together a really classy tribute and has really taken care of the families and the individuals involved. So I thought it was a beautifully put together package. I like that they showed it. Obviously, I like that they showed it at this point in the show because obviously we had the main event and we had, you know, everybody that came out. And like you had said before, I liked that they had this energy going throughout the show and that they really made the entire show a tribute to Jay and his family. So, Bryan, AEW.
I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this, but you are a robot right now. So I don't know what's up with the audio. It got all messed up, at least in my ears it did. I don't know if anybody else was experiencing that. So we'll keep an eye on that. If you've she's going through a tunnel. She'll be back in a moment. Apparently, Julie's got Kate's Wi-Fi right now. That's not great. So we'll I don't know if that's gonna happen again. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, everybody.
Let me know. Is it any better now?
It's better now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's good. Julie has borrowed Kate's internet. Yeah, it's never a good thing to do. Never a good thing to do. So then we got yes, Kate's potato router has affected Julie's. It's just the way it works.
I literally have my laptop plugged into a potato right now.
Yeah, right. No, that's how it works.
That's how it works. That's how
works. Yeah, that's how when Al Gore invented the internet, he was just like, plug this cord into a potato, you're good. That's how it worked. Yep. So we got the TNT Championship. Darby Allin defeated Buddy Matthews because of course he did. This was great because Buddy Matthews is great, and Buddy Matthews did a lot of work in 2018, 2019, wrestling against guys the size of Darby Allin, selling for them. The thing was that when he was selling for them in the matches, he would then end up winning because he was 20 pounds bigger than all the guys that he was wrestling. In this case, I think with Darby, he's 50 pounds bigger than Darby. So there is a and I don't know why it exists with me and Darby. It doesn't exist with me and other smaller guys, but I have I don't like I just don't believe the things that Darby Allin does hurt the guys that are big enough. Like I just know why it happens, because usually it's just, I'm gonna throw my body at you, as opposed to using skill, which is not a thing that he does. I know he's a skilled person, but like I'm saying, like combination strikes, or I'm going to use this takedown version to get you down on the mat and work over your limbs. He's just like, all right, my body is a missile, and I'm going to fling it at you as hard as I can. And it's usually spectacular, but I always feel like it shouldn't necessarily work at the rate it works. And so that's my whole thing with Darby. It has been for a while. I think he's doing a great job in this title run. I think he's been doing a fantastic job. I love that we get to see a Buddy Matthews singles match where he gets to really show out, because it feels like we haven't had one in a long time. I love that guy. I've loved him for years. And as G Bro says, Wednesday night, Darby Allin versus Alex's favorites. That's basically what it is. We're going to do it again next week. Another one of my favorites, and probably going to lose to Darby Allin next week as well. I've decided now, I'm sure of it, who's going to beat Darby Allin for the TNT title and when, but we'll talk about that after this. The match I thought was excellent. We had a run in with House of Black came in, but they were immediately countered by Ortiz, who came down with a kendo stick, and Sting, who had a bat. And so, just because that's how that works. I'm intrigued by a lot of this. I wish House of Black was able to do more stuff like consistently. They've been back for a while, but we haven't really get a chance to like see them really show out in the ring as much. So I'm really glad Buddy Matthews got this shot.
I agree with you. I love Buddy Matthews. I want to say, when you had mentioned his size, because obviously Darby Allin's one of the smaller guys on the roster, I always think back to when Buddy Murphy was a cruiserweight. I'm like, how is this guy a cruiserweight? That guy was not making weight at 205 pounds. He just wasn't. I'm sorry. He did an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and they talked about it because he has so much size to him. I mean, he has a great physique. He's also someone, I remember that time that WWE tried to make him wrestle with a shirt on. I was like, this is not a guy who's supposed to wrestle with a shirt on. But I was just thinking I was like, he's a cruiserweight,
Right.
So he's really like theoretically, because I think they say Darby Allin weighs in at like, is it one?
They say 175. I'm like, no, it's not 175.
Yeah. Well, I was like, if Buddy's, there's no way. There's no. I was just trying to do some math in my head, and I was like, there's some things that are not adding up here. But nonetheless, I thought it was a great showing for Buddy Matthews. I know you had mentioned the little run-in spot. I almost feel like this is going to be another one of my little gripes with AEW. They also, along with a lot of like cheat endings, they do a lot of run-in spots, which I love, honestly. Like, I love chaotic, crazy booking. But for this match, I almost don't even think that they needed it. Like, I don't really feel like it necessarily added. It was so quick. I don't know that it necessarily added a ton to the match. Like, they were already having a great match as it is. I guess House of Black being House of Black, like maybe from a storytelling standpoint, it sort of made sense. But my only gripe, well, I guess I have two gripes. One is kind of what you were saying about how Darby, I love Darby. I love the pairing of Darby and Sting together. And he does a lot of really incredible stuff when it comes to just putting his body on the line in chaotic ways. But he does get a lot of wins where I don't know that I always believe it. Like, I think it was cool when he won the TNT Championship in his hometown. Like, I understand that was a moment for him, but it's hard for someone of that size. I mean, I guess being who he is, I feel like that makes up for some of it, but sometimes it's hard to believe it that consistently.
Right.
The other thing that I wanted to add is I feel like House of Black, in my mind, I feel like they have a lot of potential to be really, really cool. And I remember seeing online months ago, I think Fightful had shared an article about maybe it was Buddy Murphy who had said, forgive me if I'm quoting the wrong person, but it was basically talking about how they want to be like the biggest, coolest thing in wrestling. Like, they could see themselves sort of going down that path. And I honestly think that they could too. Like, they have a really cool look. They have a great entrance. They have this sort of like spookiness about them. I feel like AEW kind of had a lot of spooky factions, but for me, this is one that could really work and go far. But I don't feel like, and I'll have to double check on this, I don't feel like they've had a ton of big victories that are really like pushing them in that direction. And so while it was a great match, like, I just hate to see Buddy Murphy lose because I feel like they could use the momentum right now. Yeah.
I mean, I firmly believe we haven't really have we even seen the Elite as a trio since they won the trios titles 2 weeks ago?
I don't think we have.
The Bucks faced Top Flight last week. We haven't seen them as a trio yet.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen them as a trio.
To me, your big feud for the trios titles is the Elite versus House of Black. Like, that match is.
I agree.
Those matches are dream matches for me. So I'm very, very excited to see those. And I think we're going to get there eventually. We're just like, they're doing stuff in the meantime, and I think we're also probably going to get a Malachi versus Eddie Kingston match, which is like, I mean, come on, like how do you not love the beer belly barroom brawler versus Satanist Kung Fu master? That's absolutely something I'm super, super excited about.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I just wanted to get some of these.
That's okay.
Eternally Lost says that Darby weighs 175 pounds because he's got a skeleton made of adamantium. Yes, because nothing can kill him. You can do whatever you want to him, but you will not kill the man. Jambeard says, give me another Darby crossover match. Darby versus either Speedball or Crazy Steve from Impact. Those would be really good. And JB Love says, I love Ortiz coming out. Really enjoying the storytelling around him lately. There's a lot of like really intricate like storytelling they're telling around the rift coming between Kingston and Ortiz, but both of them still hate House of Black. Like, they don't like each other right now, but they hate House of Black. Like, there's some interesting stuff there as well.
Yes.
After the match, we want to get a little talk with Darby, but no, Samoa Joe says he's going to talk to him from the Titan Con, as I like to call it, and he goes and he's basically saying, "You stole that title from me. We used to cut off people's hands for thievery. I'm going to do a lot worse to you." So next week we're going to get the rubber match between Samoa Joe and Darby Allin. Darby Allin will win that match. I'm almost positive of it. And then Darby Allin will be entered into a feud with Powerhouse Hobbs because Revolution is in the Bay Area. That's where Will Hobbs is from. I think he is a perfect type of a heel to destroy Darby Allin and take that TNT title and hold it for a while. I think that's a very easy thing to do, but I think it's the right call. Will Hobbs has been on the precipice of something really big, a big push. They're keeping him off TV because they don't really know what to do with him right now. But until they're actually do it, like the Book of Hobbs stuff is really good. It really fleshes out his character a lot. Will Hobbs winning that in the Bay Area would be a really cool thing for him. You already gave Darby his hometown title victory. Give one to Will Hobbs too.
I agree. And I agree that, first of all, I've heard that Will Hobbs is actually a really nice guy, which makes me
he's a very nice guy.
Yeah, but I do think he's one of those people who I feel like when he first came on the scene in AEW and like when they were using him with Brian Cage and he kind of was like more of a background character. I didn't necessarily see it at first, but I feel like now that he's kind of broken out on his own a little bit more, now I'm really seeing the potential in his character. And I do think he would be the perfect person to take the belt off of Darby. It's going to be interesting because, again, I know we've talked about Darby getting kind of like these big wins over guys that have a lot of size over him. Mm-hmm. And it's like he got that first big win over Samoa Joe. So it's going to be interesting to see next week how, if he's able to pull that off again, how that goes. I will say I love a Samoa Joe promo. I think
he's so good.
He's like one of my favorite promos. So anytime they give him time, like they did tonight, I was just like, ugh, beautiful. Right. So I think he set it up really well.
Yeah, Hobbs has a match on Rampage in action, which means he's going to completely squash a jobber in 45 seconds. And that's whenever they say in action, they're going to squash a jobber in 45 seconds. And I think they might start that the build toward that. Also, just to close the circle, Wardlow costing Samoa Joe next week.
Oh, that
closes that circle and allows Joe and Wardlow to splinter off and do more of that. Because bald Wardlow coming out to like to powerbomb Joe. Because again, it's no holds barred, which means Wardlow can walk down in full view of God and the ref and everybody, and powerbomb Samoa Joe into oblivion. And then just drag Darby's corpse over on top of Samoa Joe. Because it's not about Darby. It's about Joe. Humiliating Joe, making sure Joe feels the same kind of humiliation that he made Wardlow feel. I feel like that's probably...
Yeah, I think you just booked next week's show, if we're being honest.
I mean, it's one of those things that apparently Kate says I do that all the time.
But you do it very well. So when I watch next week and that's exactly what happens, I'm going to say Alex wrote this.
Kishara reminds us that the ROH YouTube has the J Tribute show set to air at 1 a.m. Eastern. So about 2 hours and 10 minutes from now. And JB Love says that I was lucky enough to be at the LA show a couple weeks ago and had multiple positive interactions with fellow fans. The Smart Marks are good people, and they were on grand display tonight to honor Jay. It's very true. Very true. Duckman talks about that video package making him cry. Yes, it was a great video package. Also, Duckman says, wrestling rules? I thought the rules were written in invisible ink in a blank notebook hidden deep inside Mount Rushmore. And then we have to hire Nicolas Cage to go and steal it. That's the only way to get the wrestling rules out of here.
Oh god.
Adam Cole's vignette was really great too. I'm here, absolutely here for Adam Cole babyface run. That guy is a fantastic heel, but he could be a really really excellent babyface. Some people you want to root for. If you were saying to me, MJF after Danielson has, let's say, 5 more title defenses before the bidding war of 2024, if they're still going to run that angle, I would say one of them should be Adam Cole. I would think that babyface Adam Cole versus MJF is an amazing program to run. Adam Cole training, talking about how lucky he is to be back, saying that he is, I don't know when my first match back is going to be, and then he looks off into this and a big poster for Revolution. So I don't know when either, Adam Cole. Who could possibly say? But yeah, I think it's going to be great.
I also think this will be really good for Adam Cole in AEW specifically, because at least when he first came over for a little while, some of the feedback that I had sort of been hearing from people was that it seemed like he had a lot of big moments in NXT. He had a lot of big matches in NXT. Mm-hmm. And I think some people sort of felt like his singles run, at least, like it was cool to kind of see him reunite with the Elite. And then we had, Grandpa Bobby Fish come over for a little bit. And we had kind of this rebirth of the Undisputed Era with him and Kyle O'Reilly in AEW. But I think a lot of people were saying like his singles run felt like it was kind of lackluster. And so it would be nice if he's going to do a babyface run in AEW just on his own. It'd be nice to see him sort of build up his repertoire of just like good singles programs and high profile singles matches here, so that he can kind of like establish this new legacy similar to what he had sort of been building in the black and gold iteration of NXT. Right. I also, one other thing that I wanted to add really quickly, when we had mentioned House of Black before, I know we had mentioned like a possible program between the Elite and House of Black. I feel like we got such a tease between potentially doing the Elite and the Undisputed Era, and then that sort of, they were teasing that for so long, and then that sort of fell apart. So I would love if they're able to at some point, probably further down the line in the future, if they're ever able to revamp that and finally give us that match, because I just feel like everybody was like dying to see that match, and they were sort of right on our fingertips, especially when they came out with the trios championships. I was like, gosh, I was like, this is the perfect opportunity, and then we never got it. So hopefully with a healed Adam Cole getting like a good singles run, and then maybe eventually the pieces falling into place for that. That's really what I would love to see long term.
Yeah, I mean, first we got to get Kyle O'Reilly back, because he's got some serious spinal issues, which is terrible. And I love that man, and I want him back on my TV wrestling again. I want him healthy again, just because he needs to be healthy again. Adam Cole, I was having those concussion issues. Thank God he's all right. Bobby Fish is asking people where the lie is over an Impact. So I don't know what he'll be doing for like Roderick Strong is the guy for me that if they're not going to use him at all in NXT, just let the guy go. And if you can get that, because for me, that triumvirate of the Undisputed Era, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, if he can ever get healthy again, and Adam Cole, that triumvirate, that's the real one. Bobby Fish is Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish is 112 years old. You know, we'll let that exist elsewhere. But like that triumvirate's much better to me.
Yeah, I don't know any details about Roderick Strong's I'm sure Sean has all that information.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
But it seems a little out of place, like him in NXT right now. I just feel like everyone there is.
Well, he got run over by a car, I think 5 months ago. Just yeah, you got run over by a car like 4 or 5 months ago. I don't know when that is, but anyway. Brian Medina says I can see Wardlow being the new ROH TV champion. I absolutely. I think that there's certainly a possibility. I've always advocated for this for guys having a run on one of the promotions and then having a run on another one.
Yeah,
being able to cross back and forth. I think Wardlow being over there could certainly be a good idea. JungleHOOK. Hold on wait a second. Luis Villarreal says, pun the jewels? That's for you, because you're the jewels. Run the jewels, pun the jewels, maybe another time. All right, PJ. Thank you, Luis Villarreal, for that.
Puns tonight? Is that a thing?
No. I think let's listen. I don't think Sean would forgive me. So we're gonna keep those out of here. JungleHOOK defeated Ethan Page and Matt Hardy. The match was good. The Page and Hardy stuff was fun. I liked a lot of the interplay as they were walking down. Stokely making Isaiah Cassidy put the chain on him was great. I like that a lot. Hook and Jungle Jack Perry just feel like they graduated from the same high school like 4 years ago, and they're just hanging out. They're just hanging out. They're good guys. I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Like I'm usually against. Hey, we got nothing for these two singles guys. Let's make them a tag team.
Right.
Well, especially when one guy has a singles championship. Basically. So we'll see where this goes. But I don't know what the plans are for the Acclaimed beyond messing around with the Gun Club forever. But here's what I want: the next real team to have a shot at the Acclaim, to me, should be Butcher and the Blade. Those guys are doing amazing work. They've gotten better and better and better and better. There's not like a huge line of heel tag teams knocking on the door right now.
That's
so I would love to see that as a program. But if you told me that there was going to be a tag team in AEW who's going to be two singles guys, why not? We got nothing else for them to do. Let's make them the tag champs for 6 weeks. I mean, Jungle Jack Perry and Hook is the best version of that to me. So
I agree. I feel like they're the tag team that I didn't know that I needed in my life, but now that they're in my life, I need them here. I mean, those two guys, they're both just so talented that I feel like I think it works with them because they're both just so young and so talented. I mean, Hook was like the clear front runner for Rookie of the Year last year. I mean, even when you have like Jim Cornette saying that your debut is like one of the greatest debuts in the history of wrestling, then like it was probably pretty good. But Jungle Boy, again, he's someone who was a star from day one, and I just feel like he can do so many cool and interesting things in the ring. It's like every time I see him wrestle, I feel like he does something that I like didn't know he could do before.
Right.
And he just like, even if he almost botches us, like he covers botches really well. That's something else that I've noticed about him, is like you can't even tell if he botches something because he always like covers it really cleanly. But I really like the two of them together. I kind of agree with what you said. It's like these two guys that like went to the same high school and graduated together, and like they weren't really friends in high school, but then it's like they meet up later and they're kind of like, hey, I know you. Like, let's be a team. So I really liked that. I love Ethan Page is somebody who's grown on me also a lot since
he's so good. I really like that
guy.
He's
another really good promo. One thing that I will say, I liked the little interplay that they did coming down the ramp too. The one thing I will say is I feel like AEW has booked Matt Hardy in some smart ways, in the sense that I like the way that they pair veterans sometimes with like young up and coming talent, and they use the veterans to sort of like pull out the really good qualities that they have in those younger people. Like when they put Matt Hardy with Private Party, I thought that was a really smart pairing. And there's other pairings like that they've done with like Sammy and Jericho, Sting and Darby. They're really good at that. The one thing with the way that they've booked Matt Hardy is I feel like they've had him in so many large stables, so many different combinations of people. And the one thing that I will say is sometimes it's for the casual fan, I think some of that can get a little hard to follow because I feel like they do so much development with that on like AEW Dark and on Dark Elevation. So it's like, unless you're watching every little thing, I feel like he's been aligned with so many different people at different points in time. And same with like even Stokely at this point. They've kind of flip-flopped like a lot of people with the Firm, and then he was with MJF briefly, and they've done a lot of flip-flopping around with people. So I will say sometimes it's a little confusing. Like if you've missed something, you're like, why is Stokely with like these 4 people this week? That's the one thing I will say. I think with AEW, their long-term storytelling that they really put a lot of thought into, for me, is so good. But then there's some storytelling that I think can get a little convoluted if it's not something that we see on TV every week or like every other week. There's a lot of stuff that kind of happens in the background, and unless you're following everything, like you're a really hardcore fan who's following everything, you might not get it.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. But the real important question, though,
yes,
of course, is whose hair is better?
Whose hair? Between Jungle Boy and Hook?
Yeah, you got to pick one.
I'm going to go with Jungle Boy.
All right.
Those, I mean, you can't, those curls, those long, luscious curls.
Yeah.
You can't get much better than that.
No. Those are some good stuff. I mean, like, listen, I myself am a bald man, so I'll take anything you got. But I'm totally.
They're both very genetically blessed, though. But I think Jungle Boy's locks are something very special.
So family therapy with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn and the Guns was a thing. What did you think of this? Because I was like, all right, here's the thing. I'm on record as saying I think that the Gun Club are a perfectly fine 5.5 out of 10 tag team. They're not terrible. They do exactly what they're supposed to do. They're a little better than average, maybe a 6 out of 10. That's fine. They're like, they stumbled in to the Acclaimed being like the most over tag team in wrestling. and they've, to me, they've saddled them with 2 old has-beens. I gotta hide this thing. I got the thing out of the way. 2 old has-beens in Jarrett and Lethal. And now these guys they have a connection because they're doing the Billy Gunn and his kids thing.
Yes.
But you should be figuring out ways of putting the very best competition you have against these guys, because they're not going to be this over forever. So find a way of doing that. And so every time I'm reminded that the Guns are the team that was chosen to beat FTR and then now chosen to feud with the Acclaimed, it just doesn't. I don't know. There's a lot of teams you got on this roster. So
I have mixed feelings about this because, I mean, you have the story built in with Billy Gunn, which I was actually a little disappointed just in this segment in general, just because I've gone on record before saying I love chaotic booking in wrestling, like humor, anything that's like really over the top humorous, anything that's like so ridiculously stupid that it's hilarious. I love that kind of booking in wrestling, and I feel like you had such a good opportunity to do that here with family. When I saw the graphic come out this past week where they announced that they were going to do family therapy, I was in my mind, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Like, this could get really I mean, there's a lot of like humor that I feel like they could have built into this segment, and it just felt like it was so quick. I almost wanted to see like a sit down in the ring, not because it makes any sense, because that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Like so many HIPAA violations right there. But I wanted to see them do this really big. Like if they have the built-in story here with Billy Gunn and his kids, and just with how over everyone is right now, I really wanted to see them like do something crazy with this segment. And I feel like it was kind of tame for what it was. Like I feel like they went back and forth, and like they, they did the whole "you weren't around for our childhood" shit.
Yeah, which is true. I mean, this is the other thing. Like one of them said, I think it was Austin, on Twitter said, "We can start with how you were on the road for 320 days a year during our formative years. We'll start there and move on from there." But I listen. There's one things like this is like listen. I could certainly relate when they were like, "Our flaws as men are directly stem from your failures as a father." And I was like, well, I mean, listen, I was never able to actually speak that in that way to my father, but maybe I will next time we have Thanksgiving dinner. I'll just go ahead and just say it in those terms. But this was, as you said, tame. I thought there was going to be more to it than this.
I thought they could have ran a lot further with this than what they did, especially just with how charismatic all of these guys are. It was like you could have made this chaos, and it just felt very tame.
This is so. I don't know who said it. Who said it earlier? Eric Manson. Who said it earlier? RJ City should have played the therapist. That would have been gold. Give me 10 minutes of RJ City being the therapist for this thing. That would have been great. RJ City should just be every character that's not a wrestler. If you need a trainer, if you need if you need like a guy who like a trainer, therapist,
doctor, lawyer, anything.
Like
you can get anything.
An agent for something. RJ City should play everything. He should not change. Like shouldn't wear a fake mustache or anything. He should play a different guy with a different crazy name every time.
That could just be like a running thing.
I would love it. My God, I love that guy so much. I think he's so hilarious. Okay, so here we go. This is very true. The Z Lifestyle says the Acclaimed and Gun Club feud must now continue over who pays the hefty out-of-pocket expenses after health insurance partially denies the claim for their therapy session.
Yes, I think that's how we could get everybody to unite. We get both these teams to come together to face the insurance company.
RJ is the therapist. Door opens. Danhausen in the nurse's outfit.
Oh my God!
Like full Candy Striper stuff. It'd be great. It'd be great. Anime Otaku has a fantastic idea for this JungleHOOK thing. When eventually they break up, the match has to be hair versus hair. It has to be.
And the tagline has to be, that's why his hair is so big, because it's filled with secrets.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. We got a Adam Page interview talking about how he wants to do the impossible, which is to knock out John Moxley in the state of Ohio, which is in Dayton, Ohio next week. And I was like, I mean, that's technically it's the same basic thing anywhere, but all right. I get it. And he is interrupted by Wheeler Yuta, who gets a match versus Hangman on Rampage. Wheeler Yuta versus Adam Page is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great match. I was not expecting to get another Moxley and Hangman match so soon.
I wasn't either. I mean,
I thought this was a really good, at least a pause in that story where like Hangman Page got knocked out. He was actually out for a long time dealing with those things. When he came back, he got his revenge match and he knocked out John Moxley. And I loved during the match at the end, he looked like, I know I can see in his eyes that he's the same way I was. I know how that felt. I don't feel great about having done that to somebody else.
Right.
I thought that was where we were going. And that interview last week with Renee or whenever it was about where Renee said, he says that he hates how much he respects you, kind of a thing. And there was a moment where Paige was like, that's a really intriguing thing that you've told me about things. Like I like Paige being introspective. So him coming out this week and go, I'm gonna knock out Jon Moxley in Ohio. I was like, that's not where this was going. And I wanted it to go in that direction.
Yeah, I felt like I actually really liked the little segment that he and Renee did the other week, where it just felt like they were having this sort of like introspective, off the record conversation. I feel like we've seen so much character development with Adam Page also over the past couple of years. Like, I just really like when they're able to pull out that side of him. He's another person that, like, when AEW first became a thing, he wasn't somebody that like really grabbed my attention in back in like 2019. But I feel like we've seen him grow so much over the past couple of years, and like I've fallen in love with his character over the past couple of years. Everything that we've seen him do with the Elite and the Dark Order, and just like the long-term storytelling that they were able to do there. So I also was a little surprised that they're going to be jumping into this match next week, because I mean, he's also mentioned, he's made other mention of mending fences, which kind of gets me questioning, like, what? Oh, you've got a special guest popping up.
Hi guys, how are you all? Let me find a nice little mat here. Actually, what we'll do, we'll just get rid of the frame.
This is wild.
Just get rid of the frame, Alex. We ain't gonna make her Robert DeFelice. Where are we at right here? There we go. We got the AEW background there.
All right.
Why do we get the live with StreamYard thing up there?
I don't know why that's there.
Get that out of there. Where the hell is that? Oh man, I'm just joining for a few minutes. I don't want to interrupt, but
hey,
guys,
Sean, it's great that you're here, because there's no video ad read for Helix Sleep. So if you wanted to do that while you're here,
live advertisement. Let's see this, Sean.
See, this happened last time too. This actually happened last time, and I just want to say, no, I don't want to do that.
Okay, cool. That's great.
I don't want to do that, because I had this whole Helix read done about how I'm not here and I'm on the road.
Yeah.
And like how much better that makes it. But don't worry, that Helix read is being uploaded as we speak.
Oh, fantastic.
Good. So yeah, that's on me. My bad. But I did just get back from Rupp Arena, and it was, man, what an experience that was. Now, I heard a couple of people say the crowd wasn't great. I fully believe that, because we didn't have major wrestling here for a decade, because they wouldn't, companies would not bring major wrestling shows here. And that's something I could go on about for hours and hours, but I'm not going to bore you guys with the commission. But the long and short of it is, you had to stop wrestling matches while people bled, and that was by accident or intentional. So wrestling companies were like, well, we'll just run Indianapolis and Cincinnati and Huntington, West Virginia and Nashville and all these places that surrounded Kentucky that weren't that difficult to get to. And then they would bring the live events to Louisville, Lexington, Corbin, and the like. But I mean, this is the whole experience that I just shared. Like, outside of seeing Billy Starks wrestle at Rupp Arena, that was very, very cool. The Mark Briscoe thing was so special. And it was this unique thing of, it would go from this huge roaring cheer to like complete silence. And people are like, what's going to happen? And how's this going to follow up? And normally I would love like a raucous crowd, but it was really great to get to hear Mark Briscoe verbalize and have some fun after what I'm sure is the worst week of his entire life. Right. The referee scolded him, and he said, no, hold on, I got an idea. And that was so amazing. And Jay and Mark were so unique, because they worked together so well, but they couldn't have been more different performers. Like, there was a much more comedic edge to what Mark did than what Jay did. Jay had that really rugged thing, but then you look at Mark and you're like, well, obviously there's some ruggedness there as well. I mean, look at the guy, and being able to see I don't think that anybody saw this on camera, but right before the match, Dalton Castle and a couple other people got seats and came and sat front row, and we're cheering Mark Briscoe on, like in street clothes. Like it was, and you could see like you could see in his eyes how much that meant to him, somebody who spent so much time there. Yeah. And Jay Lethal, who was one of Jay Briscoe's biggest singles nemesis ever, being able to do that. There was this moment, I'm sure it was off camera, where Sanjay Dutt walked him halfway down the ramp and just gave him a big hug and then walked back. And
we saw that. We saw Sanjay and Jay.
I wasn't sure if that made it, but I mean that was before the match, and then they played the video again to set up coming back from the commercial. But then afterwards too, it kept going for a few minutes, and they were hugging everybody. And today, like it was wild because like I was carting boxes of the Fightful Awards there today, and somebody told me that they took pictures with them, and Mark said, "I'm going to give this to Jay's wife," which made me very happy too, because that's very special to me. And like I didn't know a few days ago when I would ever be able to give those to Mark Briscoe. Like I don't know him personally. There's no way I'm obviously not going to hit him up and say, hey pal, going to ship this to you, buddy, type of thing. But that, like, hearing that was like probably the most flattering thing that's ever happened, like associated with this brand, that one, he would even give a shit enough to do that. And on a night like this, like just seeing that, like seeing Mark Briscoe out there a week removed from his birthday. Yeah. His birthday was a week ago. Yeah. And now his late brother's was today. Mm-hmm. Man, that was something I've never experienced. I hope I never experience it again for obvious reasons. But geez, man. Like it was Mark Briscoe was put in the most unenviable position you could possibly be in. He's never known wrestling without his brother. Of course. My God. He's never known anything without his brother. His brother's always been around. And this is his first situation, first match he's navigating without his brother in wrestling or around. And like, I loved hearing the stories. I can't remember who it was that said that the first time they met the Briscoes, they walked up on them in a hotel hallway and they were just beating the shit out of each other, just punching each other in the face. Because they said they were in a full-fledged fist fight, and then somebody in the reply said, "With each other?" And they go, "Yeah, with each other." But like you would absolutely get that by watching their work and seeing what they did, but also you knew how much they loved each other. Because like you didn't hear about periods where even when they were singles, where they had it out and wouldn't tag with each other or anything like that. Like it was weird because like sort of my tastes of wrestling were tested in this, because I don't like the complete silence, but being able to hear them, in that, man, that was very different. I hate to use the term surreal, but it was surreal. Yeah. And to see like people like peeking through the curtain and coming up to the front row, that and then them to be on that ramp at the end. Oh my God, man. That was just, I'm so glad they were able to do this. I'm so glad that Tony Khan pushed for this as hard as he did. And I just want to say this, because I saw a lot of people giving him a lot of flack. Not only did this guy push for this, he was pushing for it long before Jay Briscoe passed away. Yeah. He pushed for it hard. After a few months of them being free agents, he said, "No, I'd rather just have them under contract. I don't want to risk anybody else signing these guys." That's how much he liked them. He didn't want to risk Impact signing them. He didn't want to risk WWE having a change of heart. He didn't want to risk New Japan going, "Yeah, we'd like to sign them too." He signed them to full-on deals And I remember I didn't expect to get an answer on a media call. I was like, hey, is anybody we don't know about signed to ROH deals? And he's like, yeah, the Briscoes, and I'm really happy to get that out there. Like, quit trying to tell me to sign him. I have. And he pitched the Dynamite match. He wanted to do FTR and Briscoes on Dynamite so many times, and they just weren't allowed to do it. And I don't know what caused the change of heart. I don't know what caused the change of heart in Wonder Brothers Discovery, but a lot of the stuff was credited to the new bosses. And I want to clarify, I don't know if these are like brand new bosses, WBD bosses. I don't know when these came in. I'm just glad it happened.
Yeah.
I hate that it took this to make it happen, because I think that despite, those issues being very, very real and understandable issues, I do not think that anybody should be above growth and improving and learning, because that's the reason you get shamed. That should be the reason that you get shamed for that sort of thing to begin with, is so that you learn from it and you get better and you improve. And by all accounts, that's what happened. And I had been told by talent that they thought Mark would have been allowed on the show. It was just he wouldn't without his brother. And then somebody high up said no. They didn't want Mark either. And that was baffling to me too. But I'm so glad that that's changed now. I'm so glad that changed now, but I'll try to find out as much as I can about this. And again, I saw people say, well, maybe it was the Confederate flag stuff. And I agree. Maybe it was that, but I've mentioned this before. I grew up in the South, and I've never been a Confederate flag guy, but for a whole lot of people, they associate that with the rebel flag and rebellion, as opposed to these were slave owners fighting to own slaves. Like that isn't exactly what your parents grow up and tell you when that thing is flown around. You're shown Dukes of Hazzard and the rebel flag. And I always thought it was stupid as hell anyway. But you know what? I think it's more, that's the more of the iconography than they were here supporting what so many people are finally educated on regularly because of the power of social media. But I'm just glad he was able to honor his brother. I'm glad we got that video. I'm glad we got that tribute, and I hope we're able to get more. I hope there is a Briscoe Cup. I really hope that. Like, there's no reason there shouldn't be a tag team tournament with the Briscoes Cup.
Oh, yeah.
But I know that I just talked for like 10, 15 minutes, but that was something to see, guys.
I'll bet. It surely felt that way. It felt like it was a momentous thing and a really great. Like I said, the atmosphere, the energy in the whole building just felt like it was there to honor Jay, which is what it should be.
Yes, and I think also, for that main event, I feel like you kind of felt that energy like emanating through the TV. So it's interesting for you to have been there in person to kind of get your, that perspective as well. Because, I mean, when Jay Lethal walked down the ramp, and I mean, Jay Lethal is, he normally works this, strong heel persona, and to see him walking down the ramp with tears in his eyes, and then the hug, which they did capture on TV, and you could really see the emotion on his face, even when they were doing the introductions at the beginning of the match and kind of all throughout, you could just see it in his eyes. You could feel that as a fan watching from home. So it's like I can only imagine what that energy was like in person. But it was a beautiful tribute. It was a beautiful match between those two men. I mean, you could tell that like Mark and Jay had worked together so much, and it's like they knew what it's like they almost knew what the next guy's move was going to be. It was just, I mean, the way that they wrestled, it was a great match. It was a beautifully wrestled, clean, technical, classic wrestling match. And you could feel the emotion through the television. So I agree with you. I'm just so glad that they had the opportunity to honor him on TV in the way that Toni had really wanted to do it. And I give AEW a lot of credit. I said this earlier in the stream, but I give them a lot of credit for how they've handled situations like this that have come up. I think that they've been good about approaching it in a very classy way and trying to make sure that everybody really gets the recognition that they deserve. So this was a really special episode. And I because you were there in person tonight, it gave me the opportunity to come onto this stream as well to talk with you guys about it. And I just feel like this was such a special week to have been invited on to this show.
Welcome here, Julie Cutler.
But I mean, this was a great show this week, just in general, I think, with all the other things going on, but just the overarching theme to the entire episode and the meaning behind it. This was a really big week. So I'm glad to be here to be able to talk about it with you guys.
And I mean, people that watch this show know that I'm sentimental to Cincinnati and Lexington, and I love where I'm from. And I hate that that's what made this special, was that we lost somebody, but I feel very fortunate that I was able to see that and witness it firsthand. And man, there were a lot of damp eyes in that crowd. There were, and I mean, you can't possibly. There's no replacing your brother. There's no replacing the person. And I mean, as biologically close to being born together. If they were in Major League Baseball, you'd think one of them faked their age. Like you would be like, all right, which one of you is 4 years older than the other one? Like about as close as you could be to each other is what they were. And everybody, I feel at least almost everybody watching this can relate. If you were a wrestling fan as a kid, you can relate to having a friend, a cousin, a brother, a sister that you wanted to be tag team champions with. Like if you two liked wrestling, you're like, that's my number one. That's who I want to be. They got to do that and they got to live it. And then he got to honor that as well. And I'm sure you guys are going to talk about that more later, but I just wanted to stop by here and just join a little bit. And thank you guys for covering this, because when I was kind of setting this up, I wasn't expecting this, to be a topic or anything like that. We had no idea 48 hours ago. And and I want to credit AEW. Like Ian Riccaboni flew in today. Like they got his ass here today because they knew how important that would be to him, to the spirit of Ring of Honor, to Jay Briscoe, who had so many of his matches called by him. It was a very, very special thing. And I hope that it helped a lot of people too. I hope that this was therapeutic for a lot of people. And especially I hope it was therapeutic for the Pugh family and those that have followed the Briscoes for 20 years. But guys, thank you all so much. And Alex, the Helix read,
I see it,
is now right here. Alex, did you know I'm not here? HelixSleep.com/Fightful has changed my life. A few years ago, I was sleeping on a slab of memory foam. I wanted to try something different. I didn't want to go to a mattress store, especially during that period in time where, stuff was getting passed around. I wanted Helix Sleep. So I checked out HelixSleep.com, now HelixSleep.com/Fightful, took their quick quiz, got matched up to their Dusk Lux model. It made my night's sleep much more versatile. I'll tell you what I love. 100-night risk-free trial. If for some reason you don't like it, you get your refund. They'll come pick it up as well. They have 14 unique models, and at HelixSleep.com/Fightful, they're offering up to $350 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to HelixSleep.com/Fightful. They support military, first responders, teachers, and students by giving them a special discount on the site as well. You should never have to compromise on your comfort, and Helix has a lot of options for you. One's for plus-size sleepers, one's with cooling technology, all kinds of stuff at HelixSleep.com/Fightful. Over 12,000 5-star reviews.
Oh, so there you go. So it's good. That's great. We're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. All right. So we were still in this whole Hangman segment.
Yeah.
JB Love says, I wouldn't hate seeing this heelish Hangman after this Mox feud go up against Bebe face Cole. I guess I still think Hangman, just the idea of Hangman being this pure thing to me, it resonates so much with me, and I know with a lot of other people. As I was saying, if you're going to tell me there's going to be 5 title defenses after this Danielson one for MJF, one of them's got to be Hangman, because that is like, Hangman is the soul of AEW, and having him try and stop MJF from quote unquote taking the title with him, like that would be a major deal. But JB Love says, is Hangman now a post-concussion AEW Harvey Dent Two-Face? I don't know what they're doing here. This particular thing, I want to knock out Jon Moxley again, felt very different than the last couple of weeks. So we'll see where it goes. But I know Hangman could pull it off. But we'll see where that goes. We hold on. We got something here where we says Jambeard says I don't know. I actually really like this version of the Gunn Boys. They weren't their normal annoying selves. They were serious and had valid points. I think the problem is that we weren't supposed to see that as valid points. We were supposed to see them as trolling their father by pretending to be serious in front of the therapist. Yes. And I think that honestly, the stuff that they were saying made perfect sense for them to say in seriousness in front of a therapist to their father. But I think we were supposed to think, hey, that's not you're pretending to be good boys in front of the teacher. Like, that's what it felt like to me. But I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going with that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, I actually really like the Gunn Club in general, like or the Guns as they're going by now. I really like them. I think when I saw them in the ring the first couple of times, I was actually surprised by how good they are for the amount of experience that they have. Because I know I'm not 100% sure about Austin's training, but I know Colton was trained at Flatbacks with Tyler Breeze and Sean Spears. And that wasn't that, I mean, that had to have been, I don't remember if it was 2020, 2021, but it was like within the past couple of years. But I mean, I'm sure with Billy Gunn being your father, it kind of makes sense that they're as good as they are, as green as they are. But there was just something about that segment that was lacking for me, because like you said, they actually did make that. It just felt like they made like 1 or 2 valid points and then they kind of moved on. Whereas I felt like I was expecting this segment to be kind of like a big comedic blowout, but I felt like they only gave it a couple of minutes, and it felt like they were almost more serious than what I expect them to be, trolly, like you said. And it felt like they came across as a little bit more serious than what I would have thought. I'm not 100% sure that this elevated the story in the way that I wanted it to.
Jake Salazar says, where's Scripps? Is Scripps a family therapist?
Oh,
I don't know. Scripps. I don't control when that Scripps shows up. I'm not really sure where Jesse the Bot, if he's even listening in or anything like.
Oh.
Actually, I got my doctorate in women's studies from Bryn Mawr College, and I took a couple of electives there for psychology, but I never decided to pursue it as a full-on, major in it or whatever. But I've tried being a therapist to my family, but usually they just tell me to go outside, Dad. You're bringing everybody down. So, no, I'm not a family therapist per se, but if they need me to come in and fill in, I'll do it.
We appreciate that, Scripps. Thank you so much for your service. Godspeed.
What happened? What? I hate when he
That
does
was weird. That was weird,
I hate
Alex.
when he does that. All right. Jay's fund. Jay's pay send go is at $301,000. That's such an amazing thing to go out there and help him and his family. Ricardo mentioning that for us. Okay, so we got to me, which was something that I'm really enjoying. This is an extension of what we do all the time with MJF, which is you got to run a gauntlet of guys to get to me. He does it all the time.
He does.
But this one to me really feels different because the guy running the gauntlet is Bryan Danielson. And that's a major key for me. Like the way that he's been running this thing and so he's facing Brian Cage. Fightful Select reported that his deal's up very soon. Based on tonight, you got to sign this guy. That
was the impression that I got too. It didn't strike me like I feel like if his contract is up very soon, I was kind of curious to see like how things went tonight. Obviously, you knew that Danielson had to win, but I feel like the way that the aftermath of the match unfolded, that didn't strike me as like we're gonna try and write him off of TV sort of ending. That struck me as like he has more in the tank, and this is kind of teasing what he could be capable of next sort of ending. I agree also, like in terms of the booking being the classic MJF makes everyone jump through hoops in order to face him. I do feel like while that is sort of a theme, I do feel like this feels a little bit different in the sense that like when he did this with Cody a couple of years ago, for example, I feel like he had like 3 very specific stipulations that Cody had to go through in order to earn the match with him at Revolution. Whereas this feels a little bit different in the sense that it's just like, we just have to throw opponents at Bryan Danielson left and right, and he just has to plow through everybody. And Bryan Danielson being like I am a good wrestler who's just very good at wrestling, and that's the character that I want to be guy. I feel like that works really well for him. I also feel like Bryan Danielson, like being the veteran that he is, could get in the ring with a potted plant, and it would just be incredible. So like seeing him wrestle different opponents on Dynamite every week certainly isn't anything that makes me upset in any way. And I think we saw a great example of that tonight as well in his match with Brian Cage. I mean, I have no complaints. I thought that was a very solid match. I've said this before, but Brian Cage I find to be very interesting because I feel like the fact that he has so much size, there's like a certain style that you kind of expect him to wrestle. Like you expect him to wrestle like a big guy. But I feel like he brings a little bit more of an athleticism to the table than just like doing big finishing moves on someone for 5-10 minutes until somebody dies. So I like that about him. I like that his look and his style are a little bit different than what you would like stereotypically expect. And then we got really good promos from both MJF and Bryan Danielson after the match, which to me, again, was just like chef's kiss because we all know MJF is the talker that he is. And then Bryan Danielson being the vet that he is, and the way in which they cut that promo, sort of doing it from like the medical area backstage, given his history, I thought was like the perfect way of going about it. So again, like I just thought this was a hit for me on tonight's episode.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff in the match that I don't want to move past too quickly. The press slam into the top turnbuckle was just brutal looking. Like I don't know why I've never seen that before. I've never thought of like you see a buckle bomb all the time, but like picking a dude up over your head and throwing him at the turnbuckle. Why have I never seen that before? That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Bigger guys should have thought of that a long time ago.
And that is one thing that does kind of showcase like his size and presumed strength very well too.
Also, Bryan Danielson always does the run into the corner, climb up, backflip over you as you follow him into the corner. Yes. And Brian Cage being the guy to finally be smart enough to go, I'm just going to wait here and catch you. I didn't have Brian Cage being the guy who was going to be smart enough to do that, but kudos to Brian Cage for being smart enough to do that. But I love him catching him in the shoulder, a good shoulder breaker. Always will pop me. That was a good one. And also it's the whole story, which was MJF said, I want you to break his arm. Not hurt him. Specifically, I want you to break his arm. And so that was all of Brian Cage's offense was like blunt force trauma to the AC joint of the shoulder and all kinds of trying to break the stuff. And so when because man, he was just hitting Danielson with so much stuff, and Danielson got put up for a power bomb and rolled through to a victory roll. It was almost like he didn't beat Brian Cage. He escaped Brian Cage, which I thought was a really cool thing for Danielson to do in a way that you don't put him over by losing to him. You put him over by, I had to like resort to, not like Bryan Danielson makes guys tap out. Bryan Danielson knocks the dude out with his running knee. Bryan Danielson doesn't usually have to resort to, I'm going to reverse your power bomb into a victory roll. That's not usually what he has to do, but he had to do it in this one. That's a subtle nod to Brian Cage and how in danger Bryan Danielson felt. I like that a lot. The post-match of trying to break his arm in all kinds of ways, the putting him into the chair, running it into the post. They were going to break his arm, and then Takeshita making the save. I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter of, so wait a minute, we know Wheeler Yuta's here. Is Claudio around? Because is he not part of the Blackpool Combat Club not a thing anymore? Does everybody hate Danielson? I like that Takeshita made the save, but I was kind of surprised that nobody else did.
Yeah. Oh, Alex, I think you got muted somehow. I think you went mute on us.
I'm back.
Okay, there we go.
I liked the MJF promo. Basically, saying, this is obviously, I'm going to make sure you don't wrestle me because I'm going to hurt you. I don't like you at all. But the Danielson one of saying to, it doesn't necessarily mean it's this doctor, but saying to a doctor, you will never stop me from wrestling ever again.
Yes.
In the medical community, like that felt very pointed. Very pointed. Yeah, I like that a lot. The Brett saying, you will never stop me wrestling again felt like a message to all doctors everywhere. It sure did, didn't it?
I feel like this could be setting up a feud with Dr. Isaac Yankem.
Nope, don't need that. Don't need that. That's for sure. But I thought that was great. And then MJF in his promo saying that next week I'm bringing in a man who just surgically dismantles people and hurts them because he thinks it's funny. Timothy Thatcher. Yes. When I saw that it was Timothy Thatcher who he was bringing in, I was like, well, all right, let's do this.
I said the same thing. I was like, we are bringing out all the stops next week. I'm glad, actually, I'm glad to see them give Timothy Thatcher an opportunity. That's one thing that I love about AEW is if you are like a hardcore wrestling fan and you've followed a lot of people throughout their journeys across the world and from company to company, it is really exciting to have that like nostalgia moment of, oh, it's going to be Timothy Thatcher. So I was excited about that. This is kind of like a quick side note because this is something else that I've kind of said that I feel like AEW can improve upon is like for people that aren't hardcore wrestling fans and maybe they're just casually watching AEW and getting into wrestling that might not know who Timothy Thatcher is, I hope that they do a good job next week of giving us like some sort of video package or like a little bit more adequate background to sort of explain who people are as they bring them in. I love that AEW gives so many opportunities to so many different independent wrestlers and people from around the world, but I want to make sure that they sort of adequately explain why we should care about this person, what their importance is in the wrestling community, so that everybody understands the impact of it.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I'm
excited though. I'm excited.
Toothless Timmy. I really loved the stuff he was doing in NXT. I loved that pairing of him and Tommaso Ciampa. I was really broken up when they fired him, and like he's been doing stuff elsewhere, but he's a perfect dude to bring in as a mercenary. I think perfect so, dude. And again, this is one of those things that this is not the last one. Bryan's got to win next week and then the following week. So, so Thatcher coming in, obviously Danielson's going to win, but Thatcher further damaging Bryan. I don't know what the final step in this thing can be, but I'm really excited to see who that is. But Bryan Danielson basically having to wrestle a 60-minute Iron Man match against MJF with one arm is one of the coolest. How will he ever overcome the odds? No, seriously, if you actually systematically show us, like, this is a thing that we have done. So now you're going to have to beat me with one arm tied behind your back, basically. Like, that would be a really, really basically, like, Bryan Danielson could beat you with one arm tied behind his back. Let's see him try. Basically, if that's what they have to do, and Bryan Danielson getting to wrestle the match with one arm, like figuring out a way to like do stuff, and whatever he ever has to use the bad arm, getting to sell that even more, Danielson would have an absolute field day. So I'm very, very excited to see what they do with because, but I don't want to sell short. Tim Thatcher and Danielson next week is going to be really great.
A clinic. It's going to be a clinic on our TVs, and I'm not complaining about it one bit.
Right.
And like you said, if that's going to be the challenge next week, like what are they going to set up after that?
What's after that?
Yeah, because then like they've got to keep him.
Yeah.
They set a high bar. They've got to keep impressing us week after week after that until Revolution. So, man, we're gonna get a lot of good wrestling. Also,
Takeshita is basically on MJF's radar here. He doesn't like MJ. He doesn't like Takeshita. We're going to figure out something. So if we say, Meat Norma says, if we're getting Bryan versus Thatcher and Takeshita versus Brian Cage next week, there will be no need for a Blue Chew ad read. Jeez Louise. And he says, off topic, did Takeshita ever get that toaster oven? I don't know if he ever got the toaster oven. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I hope so.
Jambeard points out, pretty sure this is the same doc who stopped the WWE Bryan match years ago. I did not know that's the same guy. If that's true, that's a really cool, like, little piece of lore. Yeah. Like, he's like, you are never going to stop it again. Like that, which is really interesting.
That would be like such an amazing little nuance. I love when AEW and just wrestling in general, I love when you get like really little callback moments like that like if you've been paying attention this whole time, like maybe the average casual viewer won't catch it, but like the hardcore fans that have watched everything will catch it. I do think that's really cool.
Yeah. Irene says, it says Brandbeard finishes saying Bryan's going to train Toothless the Dragon. He's gonna try. That's what I'm gonna love about this match is it's gonna put me in doubt, even though I know Bryan's got to win. Irene says, if only Takeshita saving Bryan leads to a storyline unless he joins BCC, with Yuta becoming more so Mox's protege and Kensuke becoming Bryan's. Yeah, possibly. I saw somebody in there saying that if what this is leading to with the Hangman Page versus Yuta this week versus Moxley next week, if what it's leading to is Hangman Page versus Claudio for the ROH title, then sign everybody up. Like, because that would be really, really interesting as well. Tom LaValle saying it's AEW, so we can dream anything. Penta, Zack Sabre Jr. There was a guy they brought in a couple of years ago to be one of Jericho's mercenaries, was Jeff Cobb.
Yes.
And if you basically say to Timothy Thatcher, I want you to further damage his arm, so he's really, really hurt. And then you say, Jeff Cobb, I want you to throw him as hard as you can at the canvas 100 times. Like, that's the guy to do that. Like, it's not like you need to beat him. I don't care if you beat him. I care if you hurt him. And the kinds of things are surgically damaging him with Timothy Thatcher, and then just blunt force trauma-ing him with Jeff Cobb would be really, really interesting. We got the Ruby Soho versus Toni Storm match, which was supposed to be Ruby versus Toni versus Britt, but Britt was hurt, except Britt wasn't hurt enough to not show up, because the match was really fun and good, and Toni and Ruby work really well together. And then Britt shows up to screw with Toni, leading to a Ruby distraction victory. I'm very intrigued to see how all of this shakes out. But I don't necessarily need it to be a thing where anyone who's ever been in WWE before has to be on this team. I don't necessarily need it to be that cut and dried. Yeah. I would actually love it if Ruby felt like she was more an AEW girl than an outsider at this point.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm also not 100% sure exactly where they're going with this long term. One thing that I will say is I'm glad that they're showcasing Ruby Soho in this way, because I think that's something that Sean and I have said a lot in the past, like on some of the post shows, is that they brought in Ruby Soho at All Out, not this past year, but the year prior. And I felt like she got this huge reception when they brought her in. But then again, I felt like for a while, it felt like she was kind of booked as like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Like it felt like she got some big matches. She had some title opportunities, but like they never really pulled the trigger on anything with her. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad that they're at least now starting to showcase her in a bigger way, because I feel like in WWE and then, prior to this in AEW, it's like she's really capable of so much. She's such a veteran to the business at this point that I feel like she has a lot to add, and I just feel like they haven't really given her the opportunity to fully do that to her max capacity. And so I was glad to see her at least like finally being showcased in a story in this way with some other prominent players in the women's division. I didn't totally get, and I hope that like time will explain this a little bit better, like the whole writing Britt out of the match so that she could come and stand on the ramp and distract people booking. That I'm curious to see where they go with that, because for me, I mean, I'm glad that she's not so hurt that she's not able to be there, but I was a little bit confused as to like what the long-term plan with this is.
Well, I mean, but if she can be not cleared to wrestle, but cleared enough to walk out to the ramp and do this.
Yeah.
There's a very wide swath of things why she wouldn't be cleared to wrestle, but she could be cleared to stand there. So we'll see. I don't think this was for a story reason. I think they were planning on having the triple threat match, and then she wasn't cleared. I think, but maybe I'm wrong. I did enjoy the match, man. Toni Storm is going to separate somebody's head from their shoulders with that, with the Sweet Cheeks music into the corner.
I thought the same thing when I saw that. I was like, that looks aggressive. That looked aggressive.
Yeah. Jambeard says if they were if it's they were big stars before coming to AEW instead of just ex-WWE people, instead of being on the OG side, Jade could be on the other side since she was a star before becoming a wrestler. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I honestly just love the idea of Jade being like, I'm not getting involved in any of that. That shit is beneath me. You girls
I agree.
fight it out. I'm the real top champ here.
I feel like
so
Jade's
like
better stuff.
Yeah. there's some stuff. I'm not really sure exactly what it is. Mike Preventure says, I hope the thinking was that Britt did that specific distraction because she knew it would work 100% against those specific wrestlers from that place. That's true. Because just coming out to the ramp with your music makes anybody who's been to WWE goes, what? And has to stop and they lose. That's what it is. G Bro says Toni could have won off that fake out sequence easy. Yes, she could have, but booking. Yeah, I'm intrigued by where this goes. I'm seeing people still think that Ruby's going to turn on Willow, perhaps, but she was fighting hard against Toni, so it wasn't like yeah, well, I guess maybe I respect you now because technically we used to collect paychecks from a different wrestling company, so therefore, yeah, it's a very we must be on the same side. I'm not really sure, but I will say, from what I'm understanding, that Jamie Hayter and Emi Sakura and Rampage is going to be a banger.
Yes, I was really excited to see that actually because I feel like some time ago, I mean, Emi Sakura has been signed to AEW since the very beginning, and we hadn't really like gotten a lot of her on TV. I know we've gotten some of her on Dark here and there, but I feel like it's been a while, and I feel like, you know, she's not from the United States. She's somebody that came here and is signed and has this opportunity and has just kind of been like hanging around. But she's, again, like a veteran with so many years of experience that I was like, why are we not using her? So I'm glad that we are finally getting her on television. And like you said, I also think that this is going to be a banger. I feel like they booked this week's episode of Rampage seemingly pretty well, which I'm excited about because I feel like sometimes I can kind of go either way with Rampage, but it seems like the way that they planned out this week, they've got some good stuff going in terms of like not feeling too random and feeling like it really ties into everything that we saw tonight.
Yeah. You were mentioning Emi Sakura being from a different country, not being from the United States. If you want to pretend to be from a different country,
NordVPN.com/Fightful is great. How great? How about this? You're going to save money on it if you buy as many pay-per-views as I do. And I buy a lot, man. I'm not going to say what kind. That's for you to determine. But I got a great deal with NordVPN. Used it before they even worked with us. Got 70% off my deal. Got an additional month free, 30-day money-back guarantee. Works on all my devices. I have it on this computer. I have it on this phone. I have it on the router that's sitting right over there. The TV that's up against the wall. The laptop that's downstairs. It's on all those devices, and it works on all those. And I can do that and have online threat protection, avoiding pop-up ads, malware, all that stuff. Online trackers. But you can change your virtual location with just one click with NordVPN.com/Fightful. Subscribe to services overseas or get those pay-per-views at the international rate. Check it out, NordVPN.com/Fightful.
Luis reminding us that this will be Emi Sakura's first match on television since December 11th, 2019.
Wow.
Over 3 years. She's just been doing stuff on Dark and Elevation, and that's it.
I knew it had been a long time. I didn't register it had been quite that long. Wow.
Yeah. So, all right, we have reached the main event. Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal was visibly emotional coming down. Hugged Sanjay Dutt, but very emotional getting into the ring. And you hear reach for the sky, boy. Yeah. And here comes Mark, and Mark is Mark. Like, this is the thing, is that like everyone grieves in different ways, but Mark being Mark coming down to the ring and everything. He flings Jay's title into the ring, carrying the other one with him. Like Jay gets in the ring first, like all that stuff. Like it was just, it was a really emotional thing for a lot of people watching at home. It was for me, but just being able to see Mark honor his brother the only way he knows how was a beautiful way to do it. It's kind of an amazing thing that even though they were never allowed on AEW television, being associated with AEW talent in that triumvirate of matches versus FTR on pay-per-view got people talking about them, knowing about them who had never watched ROH before. But like, well, if it's FTR, like, and everyone's talking about these matches, I got to go check these out. I'm glad that finally one of them got to be on television. And Mark, I thought, did an amazing job of honoring his brother, showing out, having this match, getting to do his stuff. Redneck Kung Fu is real. As much as honor is real, Redneck Kung Fu is real. The froggy bow from the top to the outside through the table and hitting the Jay Driller to win the match finally, of Jay Lethal getting out of it a couple of times and finally, nope, you're going down, and that was it. It was really great. I love that they got Bobby Cruz to do the ring announcing for it, and they brought in Rick Abani and Coleman to call it with Excalibur. It was really great.
I agree. And I know I had mentioned this before, but I think it was really classy, the attention to all of those details that AEW paid to make sure all of the right people were flown in to be a part of this event and this match specifically. Something that really got me was when I saw Mark with both of the belts coming out.
Yeah.
With the belts.
Yeah,
That
both belts was.
Yeah, that was something that really got me. And when he flung Jay's into the ring, and then when he got into the ring and he was, posing with both of them, I like, just to echo what you said. I mean, I think in terms of the match itself, it was a beautiful tribute. I had said earlier in the show, but it seems like, Mark and Jay Lethal, like, they know each other so well. They know each other's styles so well that, like, you could tell the way that they wrestle each other. They're such pros, and it's like everything's so clean. It's like you can tell it's like they've thought ahead to like what the other guy is going to do next. And so like they always have just the right reversal out of everything. And it's like such a clean reversal. Like they've thought ahead about it. And I just think it was so special too, the way that, you could really see on TV. I know Sean had given us like some of his perspective actually being there in person, but you could really see on TV, like you could see people in the audience standing up out of their seats. Like everybody was so personally, emotionally invested in what was happening. And then, the tribute that they did at the very end, where they had so many members of the roster come out on stage and just have that moment where they were able to put Jay's picture up on the Titantron. It just made me so glad that they have finally gotten to the point where they were able to honor him in this way. Like Sean said, it's unfortunate that it took all of this to happen to finally get the Briscoes on TV, but I'm glad that they were able to push to make it happen. And I hope that we are able to see more of Mark Briscoe on AEW in the future. I hope that this really sets him up for good things to come as well. So
something I was thinking of, just as an idea, something to do. I would love a run with the trios titles of FTR and Mark Briscoe. I
Oh,
think they would mesh really, really well.
I
As
think
these
it would
two-
too, actually.
These two down home brawlers and the crazy guy. Like, I think it'd be really, really fun, and I think they'd have a great time with it. And like, run with the trios trials. Those three guys would be so cool, especially like those three guys against House of Black or Death Triangle or whatever. That would be really cool in a way to honor Jay and that connection that they had in the last year that the Briscoes were a tag team. Put them together. I think they'd be really, really fun.
I think that's an awesome idea. I know we've mentioned the trios titles having so many possibilities in terms of like great stables that they have right now that could sort of get involved in that picture. I think that's an awesome idea. And something else that I also just wanted to add, because I remember this coming up when you and Kate had streams the other week, and this news was really fresh to everybody. Something that you guys had said was, a way that we as fans can all kind of pay our respects to Jay Briscoe is to just go back and watch his body of work and really, jump into the archives and like educate ourselves on what he has done in the past. Go watch that trilogy of matches between the Briscoes and FTR. Like, it reminds me of like famous authors who, years after their passing, their work, people go back and they're like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. Like this is, I'm trying to think, like Herman Melville is a great example of that, who wrote these like incredible works of literature that got all this appreciation after the fact. And I think that's, I guess my point here is like the Briscoes were so good at what they did. And I feel like this past year, they were just really starting to get more mainstream attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it would be so special for, now that this news is out there and this news is public to so many people, like let's all go back and honor what they did best and what they loved to do. What Jay was so passionate about was wrestling with his brother.
Yeah. Didn't expect my little idea to have this effect, but Michael Branson says, "Dan, let's just stop chopping onions." And CO, thank you so much. Let's give this guy booking abilities. That is brilliant, Alex. I don't know. It was just an idea that I had of a way to, like, give those three amazing guys something to do and a more further connection, because that final year, I thought maybe it'd be something they could do. We got a lot of super chats and humper chats about this particular match and this whole tribute, so we're going to go through those. JB Love says a close cousin was just admitted to the hospital for heart surgery, so I'm keenly aware of how easy one can lose family. I'm sorry about that, JB Love. Hopefully they pull through.
JB Love, thinking of you.
Sending love to JB Love. Says I was a mess for the whole match, but felt part of the grieving whole. Yeah. Everyone's got something. Just praying for your family there. Jam Beard says, here's an idea: put the TNT title on Mark Briscoe as a big FU to the WWB company person who wouldn't let the Briscoes on TV. Well, now he's got to be on TV because he's your TV champion. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff there you could do. Brian Moore said, I had never seen a Briscoes match before. And normally I really don't need Lethal on my screen, but the emotion coming straight from the TV cut me to the bone. Excited to go watch some more in the future. Yeah, I mean, there's a guy on Twitter, and I can't remember the name, but who's put together 100 Jay Briscoe matches, which of course includes a lot of matches of them as a tag team, a whole thread of them that you can watch. Yeah, they did it for a long time and wrestled a lot of matches, a lot of great ones. Chad 722 says beautiful tribute. Hope Mark is on AEW more. I agree as well. I think it would be wonderful for to see him more on TV. But also, like, whatever they're doing with ROH, like that, the Briscoes were ROH to the core.
Yes.
And like having a singles run of Mark Briscoe would rather do it that way. Having a singles run with him as the TNT champion, the TV champion of ROH, or even ROH champion. Like give Mark his flowers too. Would be good as well. Brent Lockman says, moment of the match for me, Jay and Mark chopping the hell out of each other with the biggest smiles on their faces. It was basically a cry session. Yeah, it's true. Living Dead Frank says, goddamn ninjas cutting onions. R.I.P. Jay Briscoe. Kai said the whole match felt like it was in slow motion. I would say it felt like in a good way. Like you just watching this, being able to everyone having this moment together, that we're all watching it, and having that, that communal, those communal thoughts. Shotgun 29 says that Jay video package in the main event hit me right in the heart, man. So happy AEW was able to do right by them boys and give Mark that spotlight. Reach for the sky, boy. On a separate note, can't wait to see Toothless Timmy try to rip Bryan's arm out of its socket. Yes. Yes. Big J says the thank you Toni chants what got me through in the final match. I'm not crying, my eyes are just sweating. I don't know if it was thank you Toni or thank you Jamin. But either way, yes, thank them both, because Toni did a lot to make sure this could happen. This was not going to happen unless he pushed for it. David Reed says Mark versus Claudio at Supercard of Honor. Ooh. I mean, if you told me that's what we were doing, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Tom LaValle says, I predicted I'd be weeping, and I did. That main event was perfect in every way. Tears all over my face. It was really great. And I'm one of the people who doesn't need to see Jay Lethal do anything, but I respect how much he loved that man, Jay Briscoe. And I thought that he did a fantastic job in this. And it was the perfect guy to have as the opponent for Mark Briscoe's Jay Briscoe tribute match. Drinking at Moe's says, now that is how you do a damn tribute match. Okay, I'm going to go finish crying now. Rest easy, Jay. Reach for the sky, boy. Chi-Town Spurs says, I'm an absolute. Chi-Town Spurs says that he's an absolute wreck. A lot of people having like real emotions just watching the match from their couches as opposed to being in the arena. Meet Normus says, I saw a man called Otto today. Thought I was done with tears until Reach for the Sky hit. As the Big Lebowski said, strong men also cry. That is very true. Glad WBD got their shit together and let this happen. R.I.P. Jay Briscoe. Unconscionable that it was that the idea was that Mark couldn't even show up, even if they would. So it's impossible for me to believe that they wouldn't be able to figure that out, and they finally did. So good. Joey Bag of Donuts says the Jay tribute match was perfectly done. All the tears. And CO says, I wasn't ready to cry. I should have been, but I wasn't. Also, damn it, they made me excited for and happy to see a Jay Lethal match. Love you all. It was pretty great, honestly. Just the way it was very, very excellent. And true. Just a reminder, AEW is selling Jay shirts with proceeds going to the family. And a final thank you to Alex and Julie, Sour and Sweet, for helming this wonderful group tribute. R.I.P. Jay, hashtag Reach for the Sky. Yeah, absolutely.
Alex, I feel like we could trademark Sour and Sweet. That's like that could be our merch.
It could be. It could be. I like that a lot. We have some more from earlier in the show. CO talking about Helix Sleep. 2 free pillows. Don't sleep on this deal. So that's good stuff. Jambeard has a pun for you. Ooh, Julie Cajun Dill. Julie Cajun Dill. I believe that is a kind of pint of chip, because chips were the puns last
Oh,
night.
because we started doing chip puns last night, like before King even got there. That was a good one though. Points for that.
Yeah. And Mr. Showtime says a pun from last night. Hook is chip, like all 4 letters, all capitalized. It works because he likes chips.
Okay.
He says, I didn't actually need to explain that, but I did. Love y'all. Thank you, Mr. Showtime. Yes. Anyway, so we're done with those. So Jake Salazar was really hoping that Scripps would be on while Sean was on. Well, listen, again, I don't control what Jesse the Body Ventura does with his weird spy satellites. So you never know. And Orion Ben 666 says, just credit to everyone at AEW for tonight. Thanks, Jay. Not Bogan says, I'm late as always, but a bat being a finisher in AEW is why I didn't like the hardcore match between Liv Morgan and Rousey. There were like 20 bat shots in that match. Yeah, I think that we should decide whether or not we're going to hit each other with bats once and you're done, or hit each other with bats 15 times and we're fine. We'll just pick one, make it a rule, and go with it.
Actually,
yeah. Shot Kid 29 says, my hope is that the final opponent for Danielson is Shibata, since Shibata said Danielson was his other dream match in AEW. All right.
Oh my God! What is going on?
What is happening?
What is happening?
What is happening here?
It's me, Scripps. I have a head cold, so I sound different than usual. But this is proof that Alex is not me. There's been a conspiracy theory out there, and I don't believe in any of those outside of Round Mars. But there's a conspiracy theory that we're the same, and we're not.
Well,
I came on here with some breaking news to declare that I'm in the Royal Rumble.
What?
Oh, wow!
I haven't gotten the go ahead from Hunter and Sean, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna go very well because of my moonsault based offense. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think I've got a chance to win it all. And if not, I'll leave some messages about Elimination Chamber.
Okay.
It's amazing, though, the way that people can just show up and declare, like, I'm going to be in this tag team championship match. Why not? No one said I couldn't be.
You just, if you bribe Pierce, that guy is soft. You could just enter the Rumble. You just gotta slip him $100 bill, and it's pretty much a done deal.
Ebro says this is my favorite acid trip, and it's true.
This is pretty amazing, though. I have to say, I've never seen Alex and Scripps in the same place together at the same time. So,
and now you have.
It's a rare event.
It's a very rare event. I feel like I am here for a very important piece of Fightful history.
It is a part of Fightful lore now. I have a scoop. I'm entering the Royal Rumble.
Fantastic.
Well, you get on with your show, but I just wanted to come in here and declare that I'm in the Royal Rumble and prove that Alex and Scripps aren't the same person.
See, it's good. We've got it all set up. Thank you.
Scripps, one more question. Are you going to tell us which spot you're entering in the Royal Rumble? So
I'm gonna run the table, Julie.
Okay.
I'm entering
number one. Wow.
I'm a huge pop. I'm eliminating Cody Rhodes. I'm also eliminating 28 other people. I'm eliminating everybody from the match.
Right. Yeah.
With moonsaults.
Wow. It's gonna be a hell of a run.
I have a gift.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a gift of eliminating people. I thought you said you have a gift like you were going to give us
gift for us. Yeah.
I just broke news on here. What more do you people want? You ungrateful bastards. I'm at it.
Wow.
Thanks, Scripps, for being here. That was nice. Warren was also nice and sent in a $5 donation. Thank you so much. Jam Beard lets us go and said instead of hook, it's not hook, it's snack.
Snack.
He's seen the ladies on Twitter call him that. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. All right, everybody. We're done. So thank you, everyone. This has been an emotional night for a lot of people. I'm glad we were here to help you through it. Julie, tell everybody where they can find you and what you do.
Sure. So if you want to find me on social media, I'm most active on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter right now. If I do rejoin Twitter at some point, I will let you guys know. But I'm on Instagram. I'm under The Crown Jewels. Crown is with an E at the end. It's the old English spelling. That's just how we roll. Very formal around here, as you can see. But that is where you can find me. I'm also kind of dabbling in this journey of doing interviewing and some other things at live wrestling shows. I was just at Pro Wrestling Action down in Florida last month, and hopefully we'll be returning there soon. TBD when exactly that is. But if you'd like to come follow me on my travels through the wrestling world, that is where you can do it.
Awesome. Good. Follow Julie with all of her travels and all of her things she's doing. You can follow me on the Twitter at Alex Sourgraps. Also Alex Sourgraps on Instagram, though I'm never there. And Kate and I will be reviewing Royal Rumble this Saturday, right on Fightful Select. So come hang out over there. It'll be a lot of fun. On Friday, it'll be I
may stop by. You never know.
Wouldn't that be amazing if Scripps wins the Royal Rumble and then you get a live appearance from Scripps on the show?
That's a top get. That's a top get. Scripps will not. I guarantee you, if Scripps wins the Royal Rumble, he will not be doing interviews anywhere else but on the Sourgrap show. So that's good. I wanted to give a little hold on.
It's a win, not an.
That's right. Good.
That's gonna be such a ratings get for Saturday. I'm excited.
A little update. I wanted to make sure everyone knows. Friend of the show, Allie Cease. Allie Cease saw Hook tonight, and that he looked in her section, and that's a marriage proposal in her mind. So I want to say, congratulations. The happy couple of Allie and Hook. I think that's great for both of you. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you later, and have a good one. I don't have a I guess I should say the Sean thing. We're out.